Hello to all of my dope humans out there. Welcome to my corner of the internet. If you're new, welcome back to everybody else. This is episode 2 of the Use Your Brain Sally YouTube channel podcast, Braincast. I am your host, Sally Jackson. And if you are new here, we do get real, we do get raw, and slightly uncomfortable sometimes. So, if you're not here from episode 1, you won't know this, but this is my support blanket. I also have my support bear back here who is falling down. But he's chilling, he's chilling. And we get real, we get raw, so you might need a support item. That's totally fine. Go grab that. Don't forget to grab a beverage. Also, mine is If You Know, You Know. Hey, on the grind. I am begging you to sponsor me because I love you guys. Take a little sip. Make sure you have something to stay hydrated. It is time to use your brain, so let's get lit. If you are returning from episode 1, it was rough. Talk about too much talking, not enough braining. Use your brain, Sally. Duh. It was rough. We're just going to call that like a super chaotic pilot to what this whole channel is going to be about. It's going to be fun. We're learning. We're growing. So try not to hold it against me. To keep me from talking as much as I like to talk, I'm going to be talking more openly on my socials. So that is going to be Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I also have my shorts on here. I'll probably add some on the shorts for YouTube as well. But find all my crazy, chaotic ramblings on those things. And I'm going to keep these episodes a little bit more to the point and educational. Fingers crossed, because I'm already getting on a tangent. This is episode 2. It is day of. I am recording. I have tried to record this multiple times this week, and issue after issue after issue. And I feel like that always happens when you have a really good message that needs to be put out there. And the world, universe, for me, it is God, is like, do you really want this? And if you do, you need strength to get through it. You need determination to get through it. You need this to get through it. So you're going to have a trial period. That's what this week was, which is totally fine. I am happy to go through the trial. It may not be gracefully, but we will get through it. All right, this is the part you're going to have to take notes. These are the key terms you're going to keep in your brain as we go through this episode. It is going to be foundational changes versus supportive changes. I'm just going to rattle these off for you. They're going to be on the side. Screenshot them if you don't have a pen and paper. Foundational changes. Daily routines that support the life you're building, not the one that you're escaping. Changing the tone. Actively choosing different thoughts and the terminology that you use daily. Emotional sobriety, not numbing out or outsourcing your worth and validation. That's a hard one, super hard one. Ending toxic relationship cycles. Just because it's familiar does not mean that it is healthy. And then building trust in yourself. Make the bed, eat the frog, do the thing, have the audacity. Those are going to be your foundational key points. Moving on to supportive changes, what those look like. Reading self-help books, watching morning routines. This is the area that I call the non-acting planning cycle, if you're doing this incorrectly. New planner, new how-to program, you hire a coach, but did you do the work? Yeah. Rebranding your business. This is always a fun one, but you're doing it without knowing your story, your why, or your purpose. Going to therapy, but are you applying the work? Again. And then also networking in new circles. With the same story, you'll get the same outcome. Who are you? Yeah, I know, those ones are hard. Here's the main question. How can you brand a business if you don't know your own story? The parts that make you uniquely special and qualified for your ideal client. Mr. Mine and I were actually talking about this yesterday morning because I'm now bouncing ideas off of my partner because that's what our healthy relationship looks like. We are very intentional in how we communicate, and part of that is like talking in the mornings and just going through what we're doing. And I was running through this episode, the topics that I wanted to cover, and told him what it was, and he made the statement that you don't let your business define you or your brand. You define your brand. If you're not taking care of you, your business will reflect that. And I was like, babe, that was a good one. So I wrote it down because it really is. Like, that was a perfect way of stating it. You don't let your business define you, you define your business. And so, what does that look like? How do we get there? And what the hell are we doing, right? New setup. I'm going to be hitting this mic too. Y'all just got to bear with me, okay? Bear with me. Before we dive too far in, I do want to touch on something beforehand. So, who wants to hear this from me when you have all these multimillionaires out there with multi-million-dollar businesses running the world, and it's little old me sitting here in my other studio just talking to cameras by myself? What I have to say is this is my corner, and I'm not talking to you from that big business. Not yet. The big business is coming, okay? It's coming. But I'm not talking down from this mountaintop that I've accomplished. Not to say that I feel like any CEOs or anything that are giving us this free, amazing knowledge that they have. But I will say when you're speaking down from the mountain, it's like you're echoing, yelling down, and all we hear are these echoes. And we're just like, yeah, where's the trail? Like, what? It's hard. I find it to be hard because the landscape in which we are currently building, if you are literally day one just landing in your purpose, or you're still in the discovery phase or whatever, a lot of those lessons that they have aren't necessarily applicable to the landscape that we're in now. What does that mean? So say somebody built a business 10 years ago. They were kind of on that ramp up of what we have right now in terms of like social media, getting yourself out there and all of that. We were all on that learning curve. Well, now all these businesses have been in it, doing it. And yeah, there's algorithm changes and things like that. But really what it is we have the algorithm. Then we have people going viral for random, sometimes weird things. Then we have AI. Then we have GPTs. And we have, like, there's just so many things that we're combating in this landscape that we're in now, plus trying to be authentic, right? It's so different. And I feel like these business owners and these CEOs, were like, man, if I had all these things when I was building, it would have been easy peasy. Well, yeah, hindsight is 2020. I'm sure it would have been easy peasy on some level. It might have been, if you had all these tools. And yeah, granted, we have all these tools, but it's still utilizing them in the right way. How do we adjust? Like, it's a lot different. So what I'm finding is that I want to be one of those sources where it's like, okay, I'm in the mud with you. I'm here. I'm in the trenches. I'm in the throes of, eggs are freaking $7 or whatever they are here. I don't even know. I haven't looked because sometimes ignorance is bliss. Don't be me. That's not true. We are not doing that here. I'm in the trenches. I'm doing this stuff with you. And so along with that, I want to show you what that process looks like, what I'm doing behind the scenes, which is why earlier today I posted, I was like, listen, I'm recording day of. You guys are going to see this, if not tonight, first thing in the morning. That was the reality. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just how life goes sometimes. It's difficult. I find it to be difficult. So I want to see somebody who's on my level, who's struggling the same way that I am, who can tell me, like, this is what I'm actively doing right now to make these adjustments. And I don't think that people who are in higher positions or anything like that don't have good advice and don't have sound advice or sound things that we can be learning and doing and growing in. It's just very different. And I think we have to look at it from a different lens. When they're giving it to us, sometimes we have to change our perspective and change how we look at it to make it applicable to what we're doing right now. Applicable is my word today, apparently. Again, this is just my opinion, okay? Take it with a grain of salt. If it doesn't work for you, if you find them to be amazing, they're freaking amazing. Like, no judgment here. I am 2 years in, and the direction is finally clear with my path to purpose and impact. As you can tell, like I said from the first episode, I am still learning Even with the second episode, I am still learning. How many times did you want me to finish a thought? Yes, I know, it was rough. And what's really funny is where I saw all these problems, and I don't like saying problems because they're not, but where I saw all these issues where I was like, oh my gosh, finish, Sally, was in editing. I had no idea while I was sitting here recording that all these things weren't really coming together. In my mind, while I'm speaking, while I was going through what I'm doing right now, I was like, oh yeah, all this makes sense. I'm not trailing off, blah, 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 whatever. And then I started editing and had to make it all make sense. And I was like, ooh, you might have failed on that one, girl. It worked. We did it. We accomplished it. I got it out. And I also had to let go of the perfectionist in me. Remember that it's better to have it done than perfect. Your journey is unique, but we may have similar circumstances or challenges, or even how our brains work and we're able to connect the dots. All these things can help us as a community as we grow, as we learn, as we have lessons to figure out different ways to approach them, to pivot, to stop and move to something else. That's what this community is about. That's what we're building. That's what we're trying to learn here, is what that looks like and how we can do it when technically I'm not really at the bottom. I've been in this for 2.5 years, but I feel like I'm still at the bottom. I feel like I'm still a startup. I feel like I'm still learning because I'm not at this big booming business yet. It's coming. I keep saying that. I'm going to keep putting it out there. It's coming. But it's hard. And we want to grow and we want to learn from all those things. And in through these times of my life and business, that was where I was building my story. Again, in the moment, I had no idea about this. What I have written down is I was forced to discover myself or given to the doubt. In reality, I was given a choice. Like, you have a decision to make. I had that reckoning moment, and then I was given a choice. Either I could stay in that self-doubt, that wallowing, that like whatever, sadness. I could choose to sit in that sadness, or I could choose to fall in love with my life, make a choice to make a big change. I allowed myself in that moment to say, you know what? I'm going to be me in everything that I do. Unapologetically me. If I don't like it, I'm going to say I don't like it. If I don't want to do it, I'm going to say I don't want to do it. If I love it, I'm going to freaking love it. I was just going to get completely comfortable in expressing my personality in visual and physical form exteriorly. Like, you have this internal personality that shines and shows, and oh, we love your personality. It's so cute. It's so great. No, I wanted that to be physical. I wanted you to see it. And I had to get comfortable with that because I was not. So I'm here trying to show you as best as I can what it looks like to build something real with purpose from the mud up, or the basement of rock bottom. It's a little bit of both, to be honest. But really, the biggest questions are, what are the steps? And the questions to this process, what are they? Like, where are we at? For me, it started, like I said, with the romantic life concept. And then it was a trickle effect that happened after that. But really, where it starts is with yourself. Right here, right there, with you. Drink break. So we're starting with self. If you don't fix your habits, heal your shit, and take control of your mind, your brand will always feel like a costume you wear instead of the life you live. Ugh, yeah, that one was hard for me. Where I started and how I looked at this change that I needed to make in my life was I really wanted to create an environment where I could discover who I was and what I truly wanted out of life. Who am I? Where am I going? And what really is possible for me? It started with a really interesting story with me and Mr. Mine. His company has kind of self-help books that they have to read, or personal growth, leadership, all those kinds of things. And they all relate back to business. And one of the books that he had to read is this one right here. Non-negotiables, the story of Happy State Bank and the power of accountability. Accountability. I don't know why I said it that way. This is the book. Happy State Bank is a bank that is actually local to us, and they wrote a book about their non-negotiables for the bank. How they run their business, and it really stems from the founder and his principles. And he goes through these things. I haven't read, full transparency, I haven't read the whole book. We've only read parts of it. But it's really cool, the story of how it happened. Mr. Mine was having to read this book, and we decided to read it together. And we decided to take it turns reading chapters. And I didn't know that that was something I ever wanted in my relationship until it happened. That sitting down and taking turns reading a book in complete silence, just enjoying each other and enjoying growth, was possible. So it was like twofold. This is what I'm talking about. When you're healing, when you're doing this inner work within yourself and this discovery of who you are, what you want, what's possible, things you didn't even know you wanted start becoming visible to you. And it's so beautiful. It's not something we've done since, but we've talked about doing it with another book, and I might be sharing that with you guys at some point. But yeah, so it was twofold. I was growing, learning about non-negotiables from this book, and then I was also having this growth moment in my relationship where we were just intentionally being present with each other in his space, right? He helps me so much in my space where I'm working in marketing and doing all this stuff, and I was able to sit and be present with him in his space because with his job I can't necessarily go and do the things that he does. I'm rambling. Happy State Bank, if you have not read that book, go read it. You literally can read one chapter and kind of get a concept of what it means and what it's about and how it's set up, and it's phenomenal. I started making changes in my foundation, the true daily routines, habits, and actively changing how my mind viewed the world. And I touched on a lot of these in episode 1. I broke those down, and I'm going to break them down further for you guys. But after we go through that self-evaluation, that self-recognition of where are we, what are we comfortable with, what do we want, what is our life, and not a fake version of our life. What is our life? What are we going to live and do daily? And then we move into the second part. And I don't know which one's harder, self or this part, which is the exterior influence, which means your family, your romantic relationship, your friends, that inner circle, right? Your inner circle is your sabotage or your safety net. Stop expecting your brand to grow when you're surrounded by people who only know the unhealed version of you. That one is so freaking hard. So this one you're definitely going to need to grab something for, because it's going to get a little rough, okay? We're going to dive in deep on this one. Really what it comes down to is who was in my close circle and why? That was the question I asked myself. Who was in it and why? Who had access to me? Who could text and call me and freely express their opinions to me? And why was I allowing it? Why was I letting that in? And how was I perceiving it? So let's start with family. Family is what I think is number one, like literal biological family. I know, like the whole you choose your family thing, whatever, that's fine. I love my family and family is important to me. And I touched on this again in episode 1 about kind of like my parents and entrepreneurship and things like that. I missed the key part. I really did. And I have to apologize to my mom. Mom, I love you. You're amazing. You're a badass. And I'm about to tell everybody how badass you are. In episode 1, I talked about my parents and how I was an entrepreneur, and I didn't feel like sometimes they understood my whole story. What I need to rephrase that as is my mom was an entrepreneur, and I don't know how I missed this and forgot about this. But when I was younger, she really was an entrepreneur. She owned 3 gymnastics clubs. We were in parades. Like, she had high-level gymnasts. It was incredible. She has so many books of pictures and just, she was a fucking badass. And then she had to stop doing that, and she went into the school system and was a teacher for so many years. And that was the mom that I kind of like grew up with, this working, teaching mom who had that 9-to-5 job, right? Now, again, she's on her entrepreneurial journey, doing her own glass work, Landluck Mermaid Glass Co. I'm going to plug her here. Hey, Ma. My mom did do that. And so this is a twofold lesson with my mom in this story and my dad as well. My dad is not an entrepreneur. My dad definitely has been in the military and worked in corrections, juvenile corrections, school systems. He's just done a bunch of different things and is a grinder. If I can say anything, like, my dad just works, and I respect that about him. Like, I really don't know how he does as much as he does and just keeps going. Also there for me, and it's just incredible. But it's very separate, different people, right? When it comes to my mom, I think I got that gene, the entrepreneurial gene from my mom, the grind from my dad, and I'm kind of just a weird mix of them both, right? But when I look at that, I look at them separately, right? My mom was an entrepreneur and my dad was not. And then you look at what our next section is, which is your romantic relationship. Polar opposites. I think my mom understands me a little bit more, and my dad gives me so much grace now. My journey to getting to the goals that I want and where I want to be at life, it just takes longer as an entrepreneur. The stability isn't there until you get farther along. And that's the part that when you're working and you have that stable job that pays you and you don't have to worry about anything except getting up, going to work, and doing the thing, right? You don't have the same pressures or anxieties. You just go, you work. And so the concept of not having that doesn't make sense. And I get it. I understand it, but I have to understand that I am on my path and on my journey. And if ever I need to step away and say, like, stability is actually more important for everything right now, every entrepreneur can step back and go do a 9 to 5. Listen, you can say you can't. It's not for me. It's not meant for me. That's fine. Realistically, you could. You have the ability to go do that. If you choose not to, that's a choice. Okay? If you're failing completely and you're not able to do the things, yeah, that was a choice. And I do have a limit. I do have a limit on when that thing has to take place, when I have to reach certain goals. And that's within myself and just in general. But when I think about my parents in the romantic relationship, which is the next step we're going to talk about in who's in your close circle, is your romantic partner. For my parents, when I was younger, and I think why my mom stepped away from entrepreneurship was, when my parents split, that was hard. Like, I think she kept her gym for a little while, but ultimately she did have to go back because she didn't have a supportive partner. And your partners can make or break your entrepreneurial journey. Really, and we're going to get into it a little bit more, but that is so important if you don't have that support, not only verbally, but in the actions that they're doing. So when I look at romantic relationships, like in terms of my parents, I don't know how that broke down, so I won't touch on that, but that's just in my head how I connected it. Like, there was a breakdown, I believe, from my perspective as their child. They might have to come in and correct me on this one. When I look at my relationships in terms of all the businesses that I've had, and I've been a serial entrepreneur. I've had very, very many that I've attempted to go into, and I finally landed in my purpose where I feel like I'm supposed to be. In my building journey over the last 2.5, 3 years or so before I was with Mr. Mine, I had other relationships, and they were super toxic, very, very chaotic, and it just drew my mind away from everything. So when I think about those relationships, like just even the last one that I was in, there was no trust in communication, right? Things were verbalized, never followed through on. All the words sounded great, but I never actually had the true support in that relationship. And if I didn't, it was actually worse. Not only did I not have the support in that relationship, but I had a lot of mistrust, which then drew my mind to other things. And it was so bad. And it drained me mentally, emotionally, physically, like everything. And when you're coexisting and living with somebody who you love and cherish and they're not supporting you, how are you expected to grow? Like, how? Really? And then you go into the next part, which is friends. Your inner circle of friends, your best friends, the people you're with. And I listened to also the Too Much podcast with Emma, and I think she said this in one of her episodes where she said she felt like friendships were almost harder to lose than romantic relationships, because friendships really are built on just strictly emotional intimacy and nothing physical. And that really resonated with me. I was like, whoa. Yeah, it's so true. And I have mourned some friendships that I have either had lost or ruined or had to step away from because we were not in the same place. We weren't in the same place. It just wasn't good. And what I look at when I think about these friendships is I had a lot of good people in my life, but we were bonded in negativity. And I would almost call them trauma bonds, right? And so I went to counseling, I did therapy, and we talked about trauma bonds. People who go through very traumatic experiences tend to have those moments where they feel like this is the only person that understands me because we're going through the exact same thing or we experience the exact same thing. And so that can create a trauma bond sometimes. I found that I had really good people who just on their own were good people generally. When we got together and we would speak and spend time together, everything revolved around something negative in our life. We talked about our problems, almost like it was therapy, right? We were doing therapy sessions as friends. I don't think that people inherently think that that's bad. But if that's what you live in, you're constantly surrounded in negativity and you're never moving forward. And when I got out of that cycle, when I stopped choosing to see negative and I started choosing to see love and joy in everything that I was doing, I couldn't really relate with those friendships anymore. I couldn't relate with those people anymore because I didn't want to talk about the negative things in my life. I wanted to be happy and I wanted to celebrate, but I felt like I had to dim myself down and be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that I'm dealing with some stuff," or I would go in thinking we were going to have a good time, and then like I felt like I just had to dim my light and I couldn't be as excited because they were going through the thing and they were still in that like, I guess, lower vibration. I hate those like vibey terms. I don't know. They're not for me, but for lack of a better term, it just was different. And I hear this a lot too with people who talk about communication styles, that people who are doing things and not concerned and know who they are and stand within themselves, they talk about their interests, where they're going in life, what they're doing. They don't talk about their problems. They have bigger things going on and that's what they're talking about. And that really resonated with me as well. I was like, "Oh, like yeah, I want to have things to talk about, to tell outside of all this crap." I really had to evaluate who made me feel like I either had to put myself in a box or restrain my vibrancy or not talk about certain. If I was editing myself, I didn't need to be around that person. That's what it really came down to. And it didn't make them or me a bad person. It just was no longer serving either of us any good. And I think there's times and places where we need those relationships, and there's other times where they are a hindrance. And they got to a point where they were a hindrance when I started having to audit and edit myself to be in the same space as them. Then we move in to the business side, how this correlates to business. If your life is in chaos, your business will be too, period. I don't care what you say. You can slap a logo on dysfunction, but it's still going to leak through every offer, every caption, every half-assed launch. Your personal shit doesn't stay personal when you're the brand. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Like, seriously, I'm talking to an older version of myself. So please don't take this as me being mean to you guys by saying this, but like, if your life is chaos, your business will be too. You can slap a logo on dysfunction, but it's still going to leak through every offer, every caption, every half-assed launch. Your personal shit doesn't stay personal when you're the brand. The key point to that, when you're talking about you as the brand, building these foundational pieces that I'm talking about in your life builds the trust within yourself, the confidence within yourself. And we often forget how many times in a day we tell ourselves, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do blah, 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 whatever." And then we don't do it. Yeah, we don't do it. Each time we don't, it's less trust we have in our ability. Over time, you just keep reinforcing to yourself, yeah, you said you're going to do that and you don't. And somewhere in there, the people around you start seeing that too. It's like, yeah, I got this. I'm going to do it. I did this for 2 years. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. I was going to release this marketing book that had a go-to whatever, and I never did. Like, I had the outline, I had things, I had emails. It never got to completion. I was always second guessing. I was always whatever. Like, and people who are like, there are probably some people out there who remember this, who are watching and remember this marketing book that I was so excited about, and work done by Sally, and like dysfunctional logos. That's what I was doing. It was insane. But over time, I trained myself to like tell myself, like, I think on some level I did believe that I was doing things, that I was making moves, but I was in dysfunction. And if you are in dysfunction, it might be hard to see. Honestly, it might be hard to see. But if you take the time to really sit back and look and really do the inner work and really be hard on yourself and have a reckoning moment, yeah, sometimes that's what it takes. It took me a reckoning moment to really even see the dysfunction. So each time we don't, it's less trust we have in our ability. If we're not willing to get up and make the bed, eat the frog, or whatever your method is, how can we expect to show up for the big requirements in business as an entrepreneur? Like, that's how I equate it to. If I can't even get up and make my bed and shower and do the things, mind you, I was depressed. Hardcore depressed. I was not in a space to be able to do that. How am I going to build a business? If you're in that state mentally and personally, what makes you think you're going to build a business in that? I'm not saying this to be mean, but really, how does that work? I take that trust that I've built with myself into my business with clarity. And what that looks like is showing up in my business, and I look at people who come in as either investments or bills. That's kind of the two categories they come in as. Like, are you going to be an investment where this is really going to be good for not only you, but also me? Because, like I said, I can market anybody. It really comes down to the person that I'm working with. And then there's bills, and there's people like the people who I clash with, who I have hard times with, who are constantly changing and don't have clarity. Those are the ones who become the bills, because you're constantly just like running and speeding on a hamster wheel and nothing's flowing, things are falling off. It's chaos, okay? And all you're doing is just trying to find ideas, trying to find inspiration, looking at trends, looking at this. That's not a strategy. That's not knowing your story. That's not knowing your business. That's not knowing yourself at your core and building a business. That's building in chaos, dysfunction. I got to a place within myself where I built that trust within me to see the difference, and then have the confidence, which just recently came in, honestly, have the confidence to say, I might not be for you, and that's okay, but here's somebody else, or let's find you the right person, or this is the strategy that I would suggest for you, and if you want to take this into the next person that you interview, that's great, but this is not going to be for me. That's what trust is. That's what confidence is in business. That's what knowing who you are in business looks like, is being able to see that and say that and not have any tether, to that outcome, not be like gripping that outcome of this is what I'm envisioning of that outcome, right? So once I was able to see all of those things, it really did start clicking. And the calls started coming from inside the house. Meaning I had ideas and inspirations of how to express my knowledge, and just it started flowing. And it's the overwhelm. That's really what it comes down to. It got overwhelming, but that is for next episode, because that's when we're really going to get into what clicking and all this stuff coming together looks like. But what I do want to finish this on is one final concept. When we're thinking about self and exterior influences, and then you're building your business, I find that a lot of people choose solitude by thinking like their situation is so special in business, or their hard circumstance is so special and so unique that nobody understands and they just have to deal with it on their own. I was one of them. Let me be clear, I was one of them. It's so not true. And when you believe that, you take yourself away from a community. You isolate yourself. When you think that your circumstance is so special, so unique, nobody can understand, you take yourself out of a community who will help you get through your problem. We are not meant to struggle and do these things alone. We are meant to have community. We are meant to build and structure and do things together. You're not in a unique circumstance, okay? You are on a unique journey, but these challenges, there are people out here who can help you. To close this up, this was an interesting episode, to say the least. You can keep playing dress up with your brand and blaming the algorithm, or you can go get fucking real. Your habits, your circle, your headspace, they all bleed into your business, whether you like it or not. The truth, you don't need more strategy. You need to stop hiding behind your representative. And finally show up as you. And if you don't know who that is yet, that's also fine. You can be in your discovery era. Just don't fake it. Show up messy, curious, honest. That's what builds real trust, real connection, and a brand that actually sticks. So use your brain, build the damn thing, and make sure it looks like you, not your representative. Pretty, shiny, perfect, beautiful doesn't fucking exist. I'm so glad y'all stuck this one out too. Filming day of is rough, but we're getting through it, and this journey has been incredible. I'm so excited for this opportunity just to be here on my little brain cast in my super fun little corner with you guys. But this has been incredible and so much fun, and I truly appreciate all of it. Use your brain, Sally. Use your brain, Sally. Use your brain, Sally. Again, I don't know if this is going to stick, but that's what we're going with. I'm out.